Before we dive in, this is one of those topics that catches even experienced travelers completely off guard. Airlines quietly update their rules all the time, and most passengers don't realize anything has changed until they're standing at the airport counter, arguing, stressed, and already late. In this new update, airlines have rolled out rule changes that affect seating, baggage, boarding, refunds, upgrades, and even how you interact with staff. These aren't rumors or future plans. These are changes already being enforced, and they are surprising travelers every single day. What makes it worse is that airlines don't clearly warn you. The information is buried in fine print, updated policies, or vague emails most people never read. Seniors, frequent flyers, and loyal customers are often the most shocked because they assume longtime habits still apply. They don't. What worked last year may now get you denied boarding, charged extra fees, or downgraded without explanation. This video is about protecting yourself from those surprises. Knowing these rule changes before you fly can save you money, stress, and embarrassing moments at the airport. If you care about smooth travel, this is information you need. Before we start, take a moment to like this video so more travelers can see these updates, subscribe to the channel for ongoing airline and airport alerts, and share this with anyone who flies regularly. Airlines won't warn you clearly, but we will. Now let's get into the shocking airline rule changes that are catching travelers off guard right now. 1. Airlines can now change your seat without compensation more easily. One of the most shocking airline rule changes catching travelers off guard is how easily airlines can now change your seat without offering compensation. For years, passengers assumed that once they selected or paid for a seat, it was locked in unless something extreme happened. That assumption no longer holds true. In recent updates, airlines have expanded their terms to allow seat changes for operational reasons, a phrase that covers far more situations than most travelers realize. This can include aircraft swaps, weight balancing, crew needs, last-minute upgrades for elite members, or accommodating other passengers. What makes this change especially frustrating is that many airlines no longer consider this a downgrade, even when you lose legroom, move away from travel companions, or are reassigned from a preferred seat. In many cases, compensation is no longer automatic. Travelers are often told that seating is never guaranteed, even when a fee was paid. Seniors and frequent flyers are particularly caught off guard because they rely on seat comfort and consistency. Another issue is timing. These changes often happen after boarding passes are issued or even at the gate, leaving little room to argue. Airline agents are trained to reference the updated policy, which places responsibility back on the passenger for accepting flexible conditions. Many travelers don't realize they agreed to this when booking, because the language is buried deep in the contract of carriage. Another major shift is that some airlines now treat seat fees as non-refundable add-ons rather than part of the fare. That means even if you lose the seat you paid for, refunds can be denied or delayed. This has led to confusion, anger, and missed flights when passengers refuse reassignment. The safest approach now is to document everything. Save seat confirmations, screenshots, and receipts. If a change happens, ask politely but firmly about compensation options, but understand that policy has shifted in the airline's favor. Knowing this rule change ahead of time helps set expectations and avoid confrontations that rarely end well at the gate. 2. Boarding priority and carry-on privileges are no longer guaranteed. Another airline rule change surprising travelers is how boarding priority and carry-on privileges are being quietly redefined. Many passengers believe that paying for early boarding, elite status, or certain fare classes guarantees overhead bin space and smooth boarding. In this new update, airlines have added broad exceptions that allow them to revoke or limit these benefits without warning. One major change involves overhead bin availability. Airlines now state clearly that carry-on space is never guaranteed, even for priority groups. This means travelers can pay for early boarding and still be forced to gate check their bags if bins fill faster than expected. Another issue is dynamic boarding group reshuffling. Airlines can now move passengers between boarding groups based on aircraft needs, load factors, or last-minute changes, regardless of what is printed on your boarding pass. Seniors and frequent flyers often feel blindsided when they're suddenly boarding later than expected. Another major update involves fare-based carry-on rules. Some airlines are expanding basic or restricted fares, where carry-ons that were previously allowed are now considered oversized or ineligible. Travelers discover this only at the gate, where fees are higher and options are limited. Another surprising change is enforcement inconsistency. Different airports, crews, and flights may enforce the same rule differently, creating confusion. Airlines protect themselves by stating that final decisions rest with gate staff. This makes arguing ineffective and stressful. Another overlooked shift is how loyalty status interacts with these rules. Elite status no longer overrides certain restrictions on some fares, something many loyal customers don't expect. The result is frustration, delays, and unexpected fees. The best defense is preparation. Always assume carry-on space is limited, board as early as realistically possible, and pack essentials in a personal item. Understanding that boarding perks are now conditional, not guaranteed, helps travelers adapt and avoid last-minute surprises that can derail an entire trip. 3. Airlines can reprice, cancel, or downgrade your ticket benefits after purchase. One of the most unsettling airline rule changes, catching travelers off guard, is the expanded power airlines now have to modify ticket benefits after purchase. Many passengers believe that once they pay, the terms are locked in. In reality, airlines have updated their contracts to allow changes to fare benefits, inclusions, and conditions even after a ticket is issued. This does not always mean the ticket price changes, but what the ticket includes absolutely can. Benefits like seat selection eligibility, change flexibility, same-day standby access, mileage earning rates, and even upgrade priority can be altered if the airline updates its fare rules. Travelers are often shocked to discover that the fare they bought months ago is suddenly treated differently at the airport. Airlines justify this by stating that customers purchase transportation, not specific perks, and that ancillary benefits are subject to change. Another issue is silent downgrading. Passengers may keep the same cabin class, but lose embedded benefits, such as free checked bags or lounge access, due to revised fare families. Seniors and frequent flyers are especially affected because they often rely on familiar fare structures and long-standing airline habits. Another major problem involves schedule changes. When an airline changes your flight time, aircraft, or routing, it can legally reassign you to a different fare category without refunding add-ons. This means you could lose paid features while being told the ticket is still valid. Refunds are rarely automatic, and many travelers don't notice the change until check-in. Airlines also now reserve the right to cancel tickets entirely if they believe the fare was misused, booked incorrectly, or violated fare rules, such as hidden city or back-to-back ticketing. Even unintentional violations can trigger cancellation without warning. The burden of proof often falls on the passenger. This rule change shifts control heavily toward airlines and leaves travelers feeling powerless. The best protection is vigilance. Always recheck your ticket details before departure, review updated fare rules, and save proof of what you purchased. In today's airline environment, assuming your ticket benefits are permanent is a costly mistake. 4. Airlines are enforcing new behavior and compliance rules, on board and at gates. Another shocking rule change, surprising travelers, is the stricter enforcement of passenger behavior and compliance policies. Airlines have significantly broadened what they define as non-compliant or disruptive behavior, and consequences are now more severe and faster. Actions that once resulted in warnings can now lead to denied boarding, removal from flights, or permanent travel bans. This includes arguing with staff, refusing seat changes, disputing baggage fees loudly, filming crew without permission, or failing to follow instructions promptly. Many travelers don't realize that airline staff have expanded authority to interpret situations subjectively. If a crew member feels a passenger is uncooperative, they can escalate the issue quickly. Seniors are often caught off guard because they rely on polite discussion or explanation, not realizing that repeated questioning can be labeled as refusal to comply. Another major shift is zero-tolerance enforcement at the gate. Airlines can deny boarding for behavior that occurs before you even step on the plane. Heated conversations, raised voices, or visible frustration can be documented and used as justification to remove a passenger from the flight. In 2026, these incidents are increasingly shared across airline systems, meaning a problem with one airline can affect future bookings. Another issue is alcohol enforcement. Airlines now strictly limit onboard alcohol consumption and can penalize passengers who drink their own alcohol or appear impaired, even slightly. Crew decisions are rarely overturned. Additionally, airlines are enforcing compliance with seatbelt signs, electronic device rules, and carry-on placement more aggressively. Failure to comply immediately can escalate quickly. The most surprising aspect of this change is how little recourse passengers have in the moment. Once a decision is made, arguing usually makes things worse. The safest approach is calm compliance, even when you believe you are right. Understanding that airline authority has expanded helps travelers avoid actions that could result in denied boarding, fines, or long-term travel consequences. 5. Airlines can change baggage rules. after booking and enforce them aggressively. One of the airline rule changes catching travelers completely off guard is how baggage rules can now change after you've already booked your ticket and still be enforced without exceptions. Many passengers assume baggage allowances are locked in at purchase, especially if they've flown the same airline for years. That assumption no longer holds. Airlines have updated their contracts to allow baggage dimensions, weight limits, fees, and enforcement standards to change at any time. Even if your ticket confirmation shows a specific allowance, airlines can apply updated rules at check-in or the gate. Travelers are often shocked when bags that flew free on previous trips are suddenly overweight, oversized, or ineligible. Another major shift is enforcement consistency. Airlines are cracking down on carry-on size using automated bag sizers, gate checks, and stricter staff instructions. Gate agents are under pressure to enforce rules uniformly, which means fewer warnings and more fees. Seniors and frequent flyers are especially surprised when loyalty status no longer protects them from baggage charges. Some airlines now limit baggage perks based on fare type, not status. Another issue is connecting flights. If one segment of your journey is operated by a partner airline, their baggage rules may apply instead, even if you booked under a different airline's name. This can result in surprise fees mid-trip. Another overlooked change is gate check penalties. Bags that could have been checked for free earlier may now incur higher fees if caught at the gate. Airlines justify this as encouraging compliance, but travelers often feel blindsided. The safest strategy is to recheck baggage rules right before departure, measure and weigh bags precisely, and avoid assuming past experience applies. In today's airline environment, baggage rules are flexible for airlines, but rigid for passengers. 6. Airlines can limit or remove refunds and credits more easily than before. Another shocking rule change travelers are only discovering too late involves refunds, credits, and cancellations. Airlines have quietly rewritten policies to make refunds far more restrictive while promoting flexibility in marketing language. Many passengers believe flexible fares mean easy refunds. In reality, flexibility often means credits, not cash, and those credits come with strict conditions. Airlines can now change expiration dates, limit transferability, and impose usage rules on travel credits with little notice. Travelers are frequently caught off guard when credits expire sooner than expected or become unusable for certain routes or fare types. Another issue is schedule change refunds. In the past, significant time changes often qualified for refunds. Now, airlines define significant more narrowly, sometimes allowing changes of several hours without refund eligibility. Seniors and cautious travelers often plan far in advance and are most affected when plans change unexpectedly. Another major update is how add-ons are treated. Fees for seats, bags, upgrades, and priority services are increasingly labeled as non-refundable, even if the airline changes your flight. Travelers assume they'll be refunded for services they didn't receive, only to find those charges excluded. Another overlooked change is automated cancellation. Some airlines automatically cancel remaining segments if you miss a leg, even for reasons beyond your control, and refunds are not guaranteed. Getting a refund now often requires navigating complex systems, long waits, and strict timelines. The burden is on the passenger to act quickly and understand the rules. The safest approach is to read refund terms carefully, document changes, and act immediately when disruptions occur. Assuming fairness or flexibility without confirmation can lead to lost money and frustration. 7. Airlines can deny boarding due to technology errors or data mismatches. One of the most frustrating airline rule changes catching travelers off guard involves how airlines now handle technology errors, data mismatches, and automated system flags. In 2026, airlines rely heavily on automated systems to verify passenger data, including names, documents, seating, loyalty status, and payment details. If the system flags an issue, airlines now have broader authority to deny boarding until it is resolved, even if the error was not caused by the passenger. Common problems include name mismatches between tickets and IDs, missing middle names, passport data not syncing correctly, or outdated frequent flyer information. In the past, agents often fixed these issues manually. Now, many airlines restrict staff from overriding system decisions. Travelers are shocked when they're told the system won't allow check-in or boarding, with little explanation. Seniors are particularly affected because they may book through third parties, use saved profiles, or rely on others to manage reservations, increasing the chance of discrepancies. Another growing issue involves app-based boarding passes. If the app fails, crashes, or displays outdated information, airlines may still hold the passenger responsible. Printed backups are no longer always accepted if the system doesn't match. Another overlooked risk is document scanning. Automated passport readers can reject valid documents due to glare, wear, or technical errors. When this happens, secondary verification may not be available immediately, leading to missed flights. Airlines protect themselves by stating passengers are responsible for ensuring accurate data. Even when the airline made the error, resolving it can take time and may not result in compensation. The safest approach is prevention. Double-check name spelling, document details, and reservation information well before travel. Carry printed confirmations and arrive early to allow time for corrections. In a system-driven airline environment, small data errors can have big consequences. 8. Airlines can restrict or remove in-flight services without warning. Another rule change surprising travelers is how airlines can now restrict, change, or remove in-flight services without prior notice and without compensation. Many passengers assume amenities like meals, beverages, entertainment, blankets, or even restrooms are guaranteed based on flight length or fare class. Airlines have updated policies to classify most in-flight services as discretionary, not guaranteed. This means they can be reduced or eliminated due to staffing issues, supply shortages, turbulence, or operational decisions. Travelers are often shocked when meals are downgraded, unavailable, or replaced with minimal options, even on long flights. Seniors and passengers with medical or dietary needs are especially affected when pre-ordered meals are unavailable. Airlines often advise passengers to bring their own food, shifting responsibility away from the carrier. Another issue involves entertainment systems. If screens malfunction or content is unavailable, airlines are rarely required to offer compensation. Even Wi-Fi services advertised during booking may not function, and refunds are inconsistent. Another overlooked change involves cabin temperature, lighting, and seating adjustments. Airlines now allow crews wide discretion to manage cabin conditions, and passenger complaints rarely lead to action. The most surprising part is how little recourse travelers have. In-flight service complaints are often dismissed as non-essential. The safest approach is self-reliance. Bring your own food, entertainment, medication, and comfort items whenever possible. Understanding that in-flight services are no longer guaranteed helps travelers adjust expectations and avoid disappointment. In today's airline environment, transportation is the promise, not comfort. 9. Airlines can modify loyalty programs and status benefits with little notice. One of the most frustrating airline rule changes catching travelers off guard is how easily airlines can now change loyalty programs, earning structures, and elite status benefits with minimal warning. Many travelers spend years building loyalty to a single airline, believing their miles, points, and status will provide long-term value and predictable perks. In reality, airlines have updated their terms to give themselves broad authority to modify programs at any time. This includes changing how miles are earned, how they can be redeemed, expiration timelines, and what benefits elite status actually provides. Travelers are often shocked when flights that once earned full mileage now earn far less, or when redemption rates suddenly increase without clear announcements. Seniors and frequent flyers are especially impacted because they rely on loyalty perks like priority boarding, free checked bags, seat upgrades, and lounge access. Another major shift is devaluation. Airlines can raise the number of miles required for award tickets overnight, making saved points worth significantly less. Some programs have also removed award charts entirely, replacing them with dynamic pricing that fluctuates constantly. This makes planning nearly impossible. Another issue involves partner airlines. Benefits you once received across alliances may no longer apply, even if you hold elite status. Airlines now limit perks based on fare type rather than loyalty level. Another overlooked change is account enforcement. Airlines can freeze, audit, or even close loyalty accounts if they suspect misuse, sometimes without detailed explanation. Even unintentional violations can result in lost miles. The biggest surprise is how little recourse travelers have. Loyalty programs are not regulated like financial products, and airlines protect themselves with extensive fine print. The safest approach is to use miles sooner rather than later, diversify loyalty across programs, and stay updated on policy changes. Treat loyalty benefits as temporary advantages, not permanent guarantees. 10. Airlines can change boarding, seating, and family policies at any time. The final airline rule change catching travelers off guard involves boarding procedures, seating arrangements, and family-related policies. Many passengers assume these rules are stable and standardized. They are not. Airlines now reserve the right to change boarding order, seat assignments, and family seating policies without advance notice. Travelers are often shocked when families are no longer seated together automatically or when pre-boarding eligibility changes. Seniors and passengers with mobility needs are especially affected when boarding assistance rules are adjusted. Airlines can redefine who qualifies for early boarding, sometimes excluding passengers who previously qualified. Another issue involves seat reassignment for operational efficiency. Airlines can move passengers to accommodate crew, balance weight, or seat other travelers, even if it separates companions. Family seating guarantees are increasingly limited to specific fare types, and some airlines now charge extra to ensure seats together. Another overlooked change is how disputes are handled. Gate agents are given wide discretion, and decisions made at the gate are often final. Arguing policy rarely changes outcomes. Another surprise involves standby and same-day changes. Rules governing these options can change frequently, affecting travelers who rely on flexibility. Airlines justify these changes as operational necessity, but passengers often feel blindsided. The safest approach is preparation and flexibility. Review boarding policies before every flight, not just once. Avoid assuming past experiences will repeat. In today's airline environment, adaptability is essential. Understanding that these rules can change without warning helps travelers manage expectations and avoid stressful confrontations at the airport. Air travel is changing faster than most people realize, and the biggest problem isn't always the changes themselves. It's that airlines rarely explain them clearly. Rules shift quietly, policies get rewritten in fine print, and travelers only discover the difference when they're already at the airport, stressed, tired, and out of options. That's why staying informed is no longer optional. Knowing what airlines can change and how quickly they can do it gives you control in a system designed to favor flexibility for airlines, not passengers. The goal isn't to scare you away from flying, it's to help you travel smarter, calmer, and more prepared. When you understand how loyalty programs can lose value overnight, how seating and boarding rules can change without warning, and how much discretion airlines now hold, you stop being surprised and start being strategic. You pack differently, plan differently, and react differently when things don't go as expected. That alone can save you time, money, and frustration on every trip. If this video helped you see air travel in a new way, make sure you support the channel. Hit the like button so more travelers can learn these updates, and subscribe so you don't miss future videos covering airline rules, airport secrets, and travel changes that most passengers find out about too late. Share this video with someone who flies often or has an upcoming trip, especially seniors or frequent travelers who rely on consistency. The more informed you are, the fewer surprises you'll face. Safe travels, smart planning, and we'll see you in the next video.